No.
Hey everyone, it's Jared. Hopefully you're having a good morning. Here in Sacramento, it's literally the first rain that I think we've had in months and months and months. So thank you. All your prayers are being answered. Certainly mine is. Hopefully we don't have an atmospheric river or something insane. Anyway, welcome to this exciting California breakout. Here to answer all your questions. It's not the most interactive format, so please just type your questions in the chat as they come up. Belinda and Heidi and myself will do our best to manage and juggle them and make it happen. So super appreciate you all signing on. Unlike most Zooms, not exactly sure who is on, so feel free to just say hello. And we can start it that way. We're going to go through 9:45. So I'm going to just kind of kick it off by framing out some of the big issues that we're facing in Indian country in California. And really want to thank the California Tribal Advisory Committee members who are in this session. I don't know if you can, I'd love it if you could introduce yourselves and say hi, but I'm not sure if you're able to. I'm just going to take a pause, and if you are, well, I'm going to recognize you. Thank you to all the folks in California that are on the Tribal Advisory Committee, Council, and really just start with a very, very heartfelt sadness around Harry Williams, who we lost this year to COVID. And I know he was near and dear to so many of us and to the movement, and to thinking about water rights and communicating the issues of not only the Owens Valley and the issues around water, but just amazing guy and incredibly powerful person on our Tribal Advisory Committee. So Harry, hopefully you're spending your time up in a better place, not listening to this one, but in case you are, we all love you and say hi to you. And yeah, really appreciate Terry and the whole gang from Owens Valley. Keep up the fight. Okay, so California, actually just yesterday, Governor extended the drought emergency to, I think, all 58 counties now. We're in extraordinary drought. No matter how much rain we get, it probably won't be enough to fill the reservoirs. So we're going to continue with drought planning with all of you. And Christina Schneider's been incredible in the governor's office in hosting the monthly drought meetings. We've had really significant losses in Indian country because of COVID-19 in the last year and the Delta variant. We had the hottest summer on record, got the unfortunate honor, I guess, or distinction of having the hottest place in the world with 130 degrees. This list, you all know, it's pretty devastating when we read it. Catastrophic wildfires have burned nearly 2 million acres. I was up in Grizzly Flats just looking at the houses. It looked like some kind of nuclear bomb had gone off up there. I mean, it was terrifying. So, even when I was at US EPA and we had these meetings, it felt like climate change was some way off. The impacts were some way off. We know right now how significant they are, and they're impacting us day in, day out. So we're all in this together. We want to make sure we're supporting you. The communications, I think, is the most important element. Working in real time, what's happening, making sure that we're getting your feedback and helping you in the way that you most need it at those times. So I just think as these tough challenges are going to get tougher, I always point to tribal nations as the model of resiliency. Like, you guys have lived through everything from genocide to climate change in the past, and we have so much to learn from you, not through just traditional logical knowledge, but kind of the ability just to push forward and deal with these incredibly difficult issues. I'm going to look and see. There's nothing yet in the chat. Someone could just say hi, just so we know that we're not talking to. Come on, who's going to be brave and say, "Hey, Jared," just to make sure that, because we might have screwed up the whole thing and not actually be talking to anyone, which is what I'm believing now. I'm going to type, "Hello." Oh, thank you, Modesty. Yeah. See, this is the level of interactivity that we've got. Hi, Nina. Thank you. See, just otherwise it feels a little bit lonely here. Hi, Mike. Oh, hi, Dana. Hi, Teresa. Okay, get the point. This makes me feel much more seen and heard. Appreciate it. Now I'm going to keep going. I'm going to just take these breaks, and we'll do this. We'll keep going. So if you haven't said hi quite yet, your turn can come soon. Okay. So the budget, really historic. We often use that word historic, but $15 billion that we put from our surplus into climate. We put 1.5 billion to support wildfire and forest resilience, 5.2 billion to support drought and long-term water resilience, 3.7 billion to support extreme heat, coastal and ocean resilience and community resilience, 3.9 billion to accelerate transition to zero emission vehicles, 1.1 billion to support sustainable ag, 270 million for circular economy, and 150 million for urban waterfront parks. So it's a huge amount of money going to things that we all care about, especially at a time when some of the funds that we'd hope to get from the federal government are taking longer. We all need to push in these next few days to try and get the historic reconciliation funding and the budget done at the federal level, because that provides a lot of money to all the needs in Indian country. But feels like California is really leading the way. The governor's leading the way and pushing for budgets that are extraordinary when it comes to refocusing things on climate and climate resilience. So we've done a lot together on drinking water and water resilience and tribal beneficial uses. We continue to have that as a priority. As you know, there's about 7,000 public water systems in the state. There's less than 1 million Californians now that lack access to safe and affordable drinking water because we've spent so much time and money on this. But there's still a huge number of small, poorly maintained older water systems and private wells. And really a lot of those are in Indian country, and those working with IHS, US EPA and others really want to make sure, and as we have on our calls each month, we invite those folks to explain what they're doing, how we can work together. So the $5.2 billion water package that we have has significant funding has about 1.3 billion for drinking and wastewater, 400 million for groundwater cleanup, 100 million for dealing with PFAS, 500 million for small water suppliers, and 130 million, which we get every year to do safe and affordable drinking water programs. So we just want to make sure that you're feeling integrated into that you're getting the benefit of that. Where we, in our CalEnviroScreen and disadvantaged community designation, are ensuring that that tribes really get lifted up in that context and that's out for public review. So hopefully you guys will all get to comment on the benefit of doing that. But drinking water is huge priority. Before I move on to the next thing, I'm going to look if there are questions. Can we get the list? Yes, we will send you. Okay. Ooh, actual questions. Cool. Well, hi Debbie. Hi Sally. I miss them every day as well, Harry. Okay, here's just random questions. I love Nina. She always is good at asking questions. They're not random. Are you enjoying CalEPA? I mean, it just feels like we've all lived through an insane 2 years, and it just goes from one emergency to the next. So it's hard to actually spend the time to recognize all the work that we are doing collectively. So I really enjoy the people. We have amazing people at CalEPA, and the issues are really gratifying. It's just the speed of the issues is really, it's hard. I just think it's hard for all of us. We just need to kind of come together and work out how we manage that better. So in terms of accessing these funds, and we can get the list. I will send that list to you. Actually, maybe I can put it in. I'm going to put the big list in the chat, and that way, at least we'll start with that. Hopefully, did that work? So, I mean, the money is the goal of the state board as it relates to the water fund is to continue to be able to make it easy to access. On the safe and affordable drinking water, we have a whole expenditure plan that shows priority for small systems, how we work with IHS and US EPA. I think we're at the stage of like just wanting to make sure that we're helping tribal systems and not getting too focused on kind of federal state. Melinda posted the grants portal that kind of shows how that system works. But again, let us know when you're applying and you're like, oh my God, this is the most exhausting process ever. We don't want that. We want it to be easy and manageable for you. So please let us know. And I'm going to keep going with the presentation, but I will check back in a minute on the chat. So thank you. And thanks, Melinda, for posting in there. The next big thing that Melinda kind of built, she is awesome. For those of you, she's now moved over and is working in the climate and air quality shop, but she's still doing a lot of work. And I really appreciate Melinda's guidance. She helped she did build the EJ Small Grants program. And it used to be $1.5 million a year. And actually, as Melinda can tell you, and many of you know, we actually had to really fight a ridiculous amount to get that 1.5 million. We went to the governor's office this year and said, we just need to really make this program what it can be. So we got expanded to 25 million over 3 years. Just to put that in context, it would have been 4.5 million over 3 years, right? If in the normal course of things. So very, very significant increase. And this is a great place for you all to apply for funding. And Melinda can type into the chat kind of some of the opportunities that we're looking at. Another opportunity is community climate resiliency. There's a big significant funding went to that, 819 million, of which 25 million over 3 years to the ICARP, the Climate Adaptation and Resilient Planning Grants. and those include helping to fund tribal needs. So really look at that funding. And then the Strategic Climate Resilience Investments and Project Package included $22 million in investments to California in our 5th climate assessment. And we want to make sure that tribal research around climate funded and prioritized. So I know, because you'll tell me, Jared, like, it's great to have all this money, but we don't have the capacity as small tribal EPA offices of 1 and sometimes 2 people. You know, the small tribes just don't have the ability. So if there's ways that Melinda and myself and others in the administration can help rationalize some of this process, let us know. So before we get onto the ongoing work that we're doing, want to make sure if there's questions about grant funding that we answer them now, because I know those are generally the most popular. Did you want to say anything, Melinda? I don't know if you can. Hopefully you can speak, but it'd be great for people to hear and see you. 1 second.
Yeah. Hi. How's it going? Hi, Jared. So yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the just kind of the PSA for the CalEPA small grants. We're really excited to have all this funding available, and really just want to say that we've been undersubscribed in the past years, but we really want to just really kind of up that and increase participation, particularly with tribes, because we know that participation by tribes in a lot of our state funding programs is just undersubscribed. So we really want to just take that to another level in this upcoming funding cycle. So please look out for new opportunities. We'll be able to increase our monies per project. So I think that'll also allow for more leveraging across some of your current funding as well. So please reach out to me if you have any questions at all. And if you have any questions in regards to other programs, I'm happy to be a resource. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Melinda. So next up is kind of the ongoing work that we're doing, and we just wanted to...
Jared, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Nina did have a grant-related question that I think might be useful. She wanted to know if there's any reporting for grants under this program, like reporting under CalRecycle, before you jump onto non-grant stuff.
I guess, Nina, your question is the reporting requirements for the funding, and actually Melinda's going to be the best person. Is the reporting...
Yeah, I'm happy to hop on and answer that question. So we also have Tracy Harper, who's the Tribal Liaison, and she can also kind of assist. I think with every grant program, everybody has a different kind of reporting requirements, but certainly we can kind of talk through the reporting, so you'll know ahead of time what to anticipate. But each program has a different reporting requirement. But again, happy to be a resource to kind of help you, outline what type of reporting requirements are for each program, so you can kind of coordinate that in your timeline. Thanks, Nina. Hope to hear from you soon.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah.
So in terms of cool things, just wanted to lift up that's happening under our ongoing climate and air quality work. Just the stuff that's happening, so and hopefully we can do a better job of kind of sharing all the amazing stuff that you're working on. So these are just a few examples. So 29 Palms launched e-vehicle zero emission car sharing program. Big Pine and launched needs assessment to highlight the opportunities to promote zero emission options. And 15 tribes are now participating in CARB's forest offset program as part of cap and trade. And all kinds of other amazing stuff happening, like too voluminous to list now, but just amazing stuff that you're all doing. And we want to make sure that we lift that up and do our best job of highlighting it, so that so that the great work you're doing kind of can be replicated, which is our main goal. The scoping plan is probably the most important climate thing happening anywhere, nearly in the world. It's the first time that we're going to be able to describe the economy-wide policy direction of how we get to carbon neutrality no later than 2045. The governor also asked CARB in the scoping plan to look at not only health impacts, but how we deal with and look at ending fossil fuel extraction in the state no later than 2045. So it's a huge process, and helping move through that process and you getting updates is key. We want to make sure that you're all feeling part of it to the extent that you can. We have Environmental Justice Advisory Committee, the Keach Nation are representing. I'm not sure who from Keach is doing that, but if you're on, let us know. And so as that process moves through, the goal is to have something in front of the board in 2022. So it comes to fruition next year, but a lot is happening with the EJAC right now. Many of you are engaged in the AB 617 Community Air Protection Program, and Hooper of Blue Lake Rancheria, Big Pine, Morongo, 29 Palms, Pala, and Santa Ynez are all involved. There may be other tribes that are involved, Yurok as well. So a lot happening in that area. To me, it's kind of a global and certainly national model. 617, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it really looks at how we integrate communities, including tribal communities, into both the monitoring of air pollution, but also how we mitigate it so that it isn't just air districts and regions coming out with air quality modeling and planning and implementation, but really that it's directed by communities. So a lot of funding has gone to those programs, and it feels like a way of really making sure community voices are being heard. CalEnviro, I'm going to take a break there before we move on to CalEnviro screen. Let's see if there's
Jared, we do have a couple questions. If you want to take those, they're both kind of grant related. One is from Dana from Morongo, and she asked if there could be a specific tribal set aside in future grant opportunities, because it's really difficult for small staff to create competitive applications and sort through the different grant application requirements, which I can attest to also.
I don't think there will be, but we're definitely trying to make sure that in the designations like disadvantaged communities and designations where there are specific state mandates for spending on things like cap and trade, that we make sure tribes are included or seek to have tribes included. But Melinda, happy for your feedback on that.
To hop in terms of set asides, I know that because of the historic budget that we had this year, I think you're going to see a lot of grant funding programs really kind of expand a bit in terms of new opportunities and considerations. So I definitely know that there's been some grant programs that have been in the talks about set asides because there has been an undersubscription with tribes, and just really happy to be a resource for those kind of upcoming opportunities. It would be really great to have some tribal voices in terms of the criteria development when those opportunities occur, just to kind of craft that set aside in those grant funding programs. So if you wouldn't mind me folding you into the kind of criteria development, I'd love to have your voice to kind of echo that sentiment. I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Next up, okay, go ahead. Sorry,
Jared. There was one more question, which a couple people have asked, and so Mike Shaver had asked, the funding for tribes from the Strategic Growth Council required 2 tribal council resolutions regarding the waiving sovereign immunity, and it overcomplicates, or this waiver is really complicated, and it would be great if they could simplify it. And Nina also Nina also kind of seconded that. And I know from Paula's personal experience, we've had this issue too, where the waiving of sovereign immunity can be quite a large hurdle for us. So I don't know if you have anything to say about that, or if there's anything in the works for discussions on simplifying it or something of that nature.
I mean, this is a perennial issue that I think with the Attorney General's office, it always feels like it's possible, but never feels like it's getting done. And so I continue to push to understand what it is that we can do to help with this issue, because I know what a exhausting process that is for all of you. So we hear you. We're not giving up on it. And recently I was with someone who was like, yeah, this seems legally like we can get to a place where it's solved. So there may be examples from Arizona and Nevada and other parts of Region 9 where this has been solved better than California. So that might be somewhere to look. But yeah, point well taken. Okay, moving on to, going to go really quickly through this because many of you have spent a lot of time on it. But in case you're new to the jobs or to California, we have a really incredible tool called CalEnviroScreen. It's just finished its 4th update, so it's 4.0. The new indicators include better reflecting conditions and population vulnerability to pollution, and a new children's lead risk from housing indicator, which I think really helps. A lot of communities were feeling like this was something that was important to them that somehow was being missed in CalEnviroScreen. Also, through this process, OEHA, which is the organization Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, they work with more than 35 tribes on identifying emerging climate impacts that affect tribal nations across the state. And as I mentioned, the disadvantaged community designation, we're looking to how we can include tribes in that across the board, as opposed to this one-off, because of the census tract scale and the data from tribal nations. There's such a lack of data in most cases that our goal is just to include all tribal nations in that designation. So I don't know if there are any questions about CalEnviroScreen before I move on to forest management, which is, I know, a big issue for many. Heidi, let's see, are there any?
There's none. There are no questions about the EnviroScreen so far.
Cool.
Yeah.
I want to leave some time for just general Q&A. So I'm just going to speak for 2 more minutes and then turn it over to anything that I haven't talked about that folks have questions around for the last 5 minutes. But forest management, the Forest Management Task Force, I co-chair it with Wade Crofer. There's huge amount of legislative work, SB 332 and AB 632, looking at laws around changes to prescribed burns, looking at how to create a prescribed fire training center. So really thinking about how, we've had this bizarre, management ethos of just letting the forest be, and that, we're dealing with the issues around that now. So understanding how we can get to prescribed burns, and how, if you speak to the forest folks, they're like, there's good fires and there's bad fires. We spend a huge amount of money and time at CalRecycle on both cleaning up the fires, also at DTSC. We do the debris removal, the hazardous removal, and the tree removal. And we spend a lot of our time on that, and happy to talk about any of those issues with FEMA, with working with many of you that have been impacted by the wildfires. And then finally, enforcement is a big issue. It's something that I care about a lot. We just signed a MOU with Region 9 to focus on environmental justice, communities, including tribes, and make sure that we're really prioritizing, especially all of you as co-regulators, how we can do joint enforcement with you to make sure that whether it's illegal dumping or effluent that's being dumped into rivers that you then manage, like how we can work together to get that done. So really want to thank each and every one of you. Again, thank the Tribal Advisory Committee, thank the chair, Sarah Ryan, really appreciate her leadership, and all of you. Like when we think about why these jobs are important, and why we do them, like the work with all of you is at the very top of the list. I find like your insights and work and help in thinking through how we combat what's going to be a very difficult next few years is invaluable. And I get a lot of energy and positive motivation for keep moving forward from each of you. So keep that up. Thank you. It's really appreciated. And with that, in the remaining 4 minutes, I'm going to open it up for questions.
So Jared, while we wait for some more questions to come in, Nina did have a couple about grant stuff. So when grants are reviewed, she wanted to know how diverse are the reviewers?
I can answer that. This is Melinda again. We make sure that each grant, so if a particular proposal has air or water focus, that we have somebody who is not only well versed in environmental justice issues, but also has background in both of those kind of media focuses. So there'll be likely a representative from both air and water on that particular proposal. And then we also, of course, have an additional reviewer kind of in an initial round. And then, of course, we have an executive round of review. So the proposals in and of itself go through a really rigorous review session. So, we just want to make sure that we really have a good understanding of the proposal being pushed forward, because we know that there's some really innovative projects. And we also understand that because we're dealing sometimes with grassroots communities or tribal governments that don't have a lot of resources, we really want to push forward those kind of creative, innovative, very meaningful and impactful proposals that we think can really kind of make big impacts on the ground and can be leveraged with your current resources. So, we just make sure that our reviewers really kind of look for and seek out those type of proposals. Hopefully that helps. Thank you.
Other questions? Like the main goal that we all have, I was really excited to see everyone in South Lake, and of course, the devastating impacts. Thank God I was out there with the firefighters. I mean, I think there was 15,000 firefighters on the ground at any one point in the Dixie and Caldor fires, let alone all the other fires. So they did really an incredible job. I want to thank them. But we didn't get to have our meeting in person, which makes a big difference because I don't get to see you and you just get to see me looking at the camera. But I look forward to the time when we do get to the place where we get to see each other. And with that, I have to look forward to seeing everyone incredibly soon. And thanks everyone for everything that you're doing.